Hey everybody, this is Bill. Welcome to the channel. This is the Color and Pageantry, our section of our channel where we look at college football, and week 2 is in the books. In this video, we're going to present our week 2 top 25. We're going to look at the teams that are looking to get into the top 25. We're also going to examine who fell out of last week's top 25. So, week 2, top 25. Let's get a look. Alright folks, so here on the screen are some teams that we gave consideration into placing in our top 25, but for whatever reason they fell just short. You see some very good football teams in here. Now Clemson, they were in our initial top 25. They fell out. They did not look great out of the gate this week, but they piled on later, so we got our eye on them still. Texas A&M, they're out. They lost at Miami. Jimbo really needed to get that victory. Kentucky, Arkansas, Kansas, those are 3 good football teams. We got our eye on them. Wisconsin, they lost to Washington State again this year. Tulane, a hard battle at Ole Miss, they lost without their starting quarterback. They're a good football team. Texas Tech's another good football team, but they're 0-2. Mississippi State, Maryland, Louisville, Minnesota's 2-0. You know, they just quietly win 9 games all the time. Are they off to be doing that again? North Carolina State lost a game to North Carolina, to Notre Dame, but they're a good football team. Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri, Wyoming. Michigan State, a lot of problems there. We'll have to see what's going on. Mel Tucker looks like he's on the way out there at Michigan State. What a mess that is. Oklahoma State looking okay. Cincinnati, big upset over Pitt. And then Illinois, they got beat by Kansas. And Texas Christian, you know, they lost their opener to Colorado, so we got our eye on them. Now, the 3 teams that dropped out of our top 25 from last week are Wisconsin. They were 21st. They got beat by Washington State. Listen, Washington State, this is 2 years in a row now they've beaten Wisconsin. Last year, it started the ball rolling to get Wisconsin's coach fired. That's not going to happen now because Luke Fickell just got there. But that was an eye-opening win for the Wazoo Cougars out there. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher's under a lot of pressure. Non-winning records at A&M is not going to get it done, especially with his contract. Down to Miami, lost to the Canes. The Canes might be better than we thought, but still a disappointing performance there by A&M. In Illinois, we thought that they might win the West. They still might. The West looks terrible, but they went out to Kansas, and they could not hang with the Jayhawks. The Jayhawks, Lance Leipold, they look pretty good. So those 3 teams are out. They are still under consideration. We expect many of them will challenge to get back into the top 25 at some point in time, but for right now, they're out and looking in. Now, before we get to the top 25, we want to invite you all to follow us over on Facebook at the Color and Pageantry. We're over there. We post some things during the week you might want to keep your eye on. We're not the biggest site on the planet. No, don't aim to be, but we do have fun over there. Feel free to follow us there. Facebook, the Color and Pageantry. Now, let's get on. Let's look who the 25th ranked team in the country is in our mind. At 25, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, they were originally in our top 25. They fell out because of some good play by some others, but they're back in there now. 2-0, big victory, the Cy-Hawk Trophy over Iowa State and Matt Campbell. Washington State, we talked about them dumping Wisconsin for a second year. They're a tough football team, playing with a lot of enthusiasm. I like those guys. UCLA, they got the freshman quarterback. They're a team to watch out there in the Pac-12 for sure. Kansas State, they're looking good as usual. They've got a good football team. North Carolina has trouble with Appalachian State. I don't know what's going on. It was an overtime game. Be careful, North Carolina. You got a tough one this week as well. Miami comes into the top 25 at 20th. The Hurricanes scored big with a victory over Jimbo Fisher and the Texas Aggies down there in Hard Rock. Not a lot of folks there, but nonetheless, the Canes, they're 2-0. They look better this year to me. 20th is Colorado. It was tight in the beginning, but boy, they laid it on Nebraska. Prime has got Colorado looking good out there. Boy, that's impressive. Duke is 18th. We told you Duke's good. They laid waste on Clemson now a couple weeks ago. Y'all all saw that. Duke, watch out for them. Now, Ole Miss, they beat Tulane. That's a good football team there, Ole Miss. Utah came back from behind to beat a tough Baylor team. Baylor's now 0-2, but Utah, with the Rising's not even playing yet, so they could get really rolling there. And 15th, LSU, they put 70 on the board against Grambling. Got a big football game this week against Mississippi State. That's a good football team. That's going to be a good game. I believe it's a noon kickoff. Want to keep your eye on that one. LSU, Mississippi State this weekend. At 14, we have Oklahoma. They beat up on SMU. Oklahoma's better this year. We've been trying to tell you. We think that they are. Oregon is 13th. Big showdown with Colorado coming in a couple of weeks. Oregon State, we got those folks 12. Oregon State's a really good football team. Watch them. And Tennessee is 11th. They travel to the swamp to play the Florida Gators. Tennessee is horrific against the Gators historically, but we think Tennessee's a better football team this year, so we'll see what happens. The swamp, tough place to play down there. Tennessee, 11th. All right, before we get into the top 10, do join us on YouTube here. We're going to have a weekly top 10. And at the end of the year, we'll have our final top 25, our All-America team, and we'll do a bowl preview. So keep your eyes open for that over the course of the season. Now let's get on to our top 10. 10th is Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, a big victory at NC State. NC State is a tough place to play. Notre Dame, they got Ohio State in a couple weeks. That's going to be a big one. Alabama, beaten at home by Texas. And it wasn't just that they lost. They kind of got pushed around. Very surprising, but Alabama... Boy, Saban, now he doesn't take this lightly, so he expects Alabama to respond in kind, and I agree with him. Penn State is 8th. They're a good football team. Great running back, great defense, great offensive line. Penn State, watch them. Ohio State, they're having trouble getting going offensively. We've got our eye on them. They've got great talent everywhere. Just having a little bit of trouble getting going offensively with the quarterback. So let's keep our eye on Ohio State again next week. Notre Dame. Southern Cal is 6th. Now, we know Southern Cal can score points with Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams. They're giving up some points, but they seem better on defense. We got our eye on them. They got some big games coming up, so watch Southern Cal. 5th is Washington. That's a good football team out there. They go to Michigan State this week. Michigan State got all kinds of problems with the Mel Tucker situation. Washington, look for them to continue to roll. Texas is 4th. Texas was 8th last week. Boy, the Longhorns. They needed a big win. They got it. They really pushed Alabama around in Tuscaloosa. Very surprising. Texas, very strong performance. The Longhorns, they look like they're headed to the playoff. Michigan is 3rd. Michigan, a very good football team. They were last year. They are again this year. J.J. McCarthy just quietly getting things done in the QB position. Michigan, keep an eye on them. Florida State is 2nd. They got some men out there playing. They look really strong. Jordan Travis, electric at quarterback. Got a rising defense now. Watch the Seminoles. They're very good. And Georgia, our 2-time defending national champions, struggled a little bit early against Ball State, but they got it going. Don't worry about Georgia right now. They're rolling. The Bulldogs, that's our number 1 football team for week 2. Okay, folks, that wraps up our top 25 for week 2. Now, heading into this weekend, there's not a lot of great games. I mean, Penn State is at Illinois, but LSU, Mississippi State in the opening window is a big one. Kansas State, Missouri could be a very good game in the opening window there. South Carolina's at Georgia. That's a good one at 3:30. Carolina plays Georgia tough historically. We'll have to see, but it's in between the hedges. You know, we expect Georgia to win that. Minnesota, North Carolina. Let's find out if Minnesota is any good, or if North Carolina is any good for that matter. We mentioned Michigan State hosting Washington. All kinds of problems there. At night, Tennessee at Florida. That's the big one that we see. In the backyard brawl, Pitt at West Virginia. Rekindling of that fantastic rivalry. So a lot of things going on this weekend. Not a lot of great games, but somebody's going to get beat. I can tell you that. And folks, next weekend, clear your calendar. A lot of great games. Well, thank you for coming along. Hopefully we're going to see you next week. Enjoy this week's games. See you later.